Assalamualaikum. Hello and a very good morning to Ketua Penolong Pengarah Kanan Bahasa, Sektor Pembelajaran, Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Selangor, Puan Hajah Hanisah binti Muhammad Yusof, Cik Zahira binti Zulkifli, State Language Officer, SIC Plus from all districts of Selangor, our panel of speakers, and all attendees. Welcome to our second webinar session, Teaching in the New Normal, Sharing of Best Practices for Home-Based Learning. Thank you everyone for making the time to be with us today. Hi, I'm Fadilah binti Othman from SK Puchong Utama 2, and I will be your moderator for today. Before I begin, allow me to first share with all of you the objectives of this webinar. The objectives are, firstly, to share the strategies used by Selangor English language teachers in carrying out home-based learning, or known as PDPR, based on high to medium engagement of technology and low engagement to no technology at all. Secondly, to celebrate the teachers who have worked hard to ensure teaching and learning continues at home. And lastly, to inspire the other teachers to do home-based learning despite the challenges they faced. This is just what we need. The sharing of best practices from some of the teachers who have done it. Ladies and gentlemen, as I have mentioned earlier, this is the second session of our 6 webinars happening throughout this week. And we are also having 3 more webinars next week. Altogether, there are 23 aspiring teachers from different districts of Selangor. So do check them out and mark them down in your calendar. Before we start, let me lay out a few housekeeping matters. Okay. First, the attendance link will be shared approximately 15 minutes before the end of the session. So do look out for that. And second, we would like to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you have any questions for the speakers, please feel free to send it through the chat box. The speakers will be answering the questions at the end of their session. All right, and last, we would like to encourage you to share today's webinar with your social network. Okay, do share them, all right? Now, stick around as we have a lot to benefit from these 4 amazing teachers who are from 4 different districts in Selangor. We have a presenter from Kuala Langat District, Gombak District, Petaling Perdana District, and also Petaling Utama District. These presenters are also teaching in different types of school with different social students' background. All right, this means we have 4 different settings and challenges. And the medium these teachers use are also of various means. So, without further ado, let me move on to introducing the first presenter for today. With us today, we have an amazing teacher from SJKT Pulau Keri Timur, which is in Kuala Langat District, Miss Viloshena, anak perempuan Ravandran or Ravindran. The title of her presentation today is Rowing to the Island, Home-Based Learning Isn't Different. So, without further ado, over to you, Miss Viloshena.
Thank you, Miss Fadilah. Good morning, everyone. As we can see, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you, Miss Fadilah. And before I begin my presentation or sharing session, I first would like to thank Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Selangor for giving me this golden opportunity to share what I did in my school. As we can see here, the title of my sharing session is Rowing to the Island, HBL Isn't Different. At the mere mention of the word island, most of us Malaysians assume, oh, it's an island, it's a happening place We go there for holidays. Well, teachers, Carey Island is very different. Carey Island is actually an island that is owned by Sime W Plantations, and it's a private island whereby you have a palm oil plantation on the island. It's actually a semi-rural area, if you ask me. For the standards of Kuala Langai, Selangor, it's actually considered to be more of a, this is my school, teachers, it is surrounded by trees. More than being semi-rural, I think for Selangor standards, it's rural. Because the moment you enter the island, you do not have phone connections most of the time. What more internet connections? This is my school, as you can see, again, it's surrounded by trees. And this is also my school, it's surrounded by trees. All right. In my school, we have internet connection, but it's very limited, and sometimes we do not have connection at all. So when it came to home-based learning, we had to opt to using things that didn't cater much to using of internet. What we chose to do is we chose to use WhatsApp as a platform. We used Google Classroom as well, but we focused more on WhatsApp because my students had more coverage and more opportunity to use WhatsApp as compared to the Google Classroom. We did many things on WhatsApp, and I'm going to share with you 4 of the things that I did, which is project-based learning, live worksheets, what I do during MCO, and grab notes and worksheets. All right. Again, as I mentioned before, my school is in a semi-rural area in Kuala Langai. Okay. It's a very, very small school with a total enrollment of about 29 students. So I'm the only optionist in school, so I teach all the classes. I used to teach all the classes English, year 1 to year 6. So when I gave work or task, I had to give work and task for all the classes. Okay, so now let's look at the first thing that I'm going to talk to you about, which is project-based learning. Project-based learning, right, teachers? When we say project-based learning, most of us teachers get scared. Project-based learning is nothing to be scared of, or it's something interesting to do, and when you actually do it, you'll get positive feedback from your students. And it's only the only difficult part, if you ask me, teachers, is on the planning part, the pre-planning part. If you have planned it out well, project-based learning actually goes on smoothly. All right. Again, as mentioned before, I used to teach all the 6 classes English, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and year 6. But I, for now, have specifically chosen year 3 to share what I did in year 3 for PBL, or project-based learning. For year 3, what I did is, there's a topic in your Get Smart 3 textbook of what you want to be. So I chose that topic to do my project-based learning. All right. I did it over a period of 1.5 months, 1 month and about 2 weeks. All right. So before I could do it, I had to pre-plan it, how I'm going to do it. So what I did first is, for the first week, I told my students, okay, you come up, it's stick puppets. I decided to use stick puppets because I found it to be interesting. I asked them to do stick puppets of occupations. How I did that? Very, very simple, teachers. The first thing I did is I sent out a text via WhatsApp in the class group. As you can see here, I asked them to do a minimum of 4. Okay. My parents are not so well versed in English. So after sending this text, I had to record my voice in dual language, in English as well as Tamil, because I teach in a Tamil school, and I had to send out the audio to my parents so that they will be able to guide their children. Okay, I will send out the audio in Tamil on how to create a stick puppet, and I gave them instructions that they should be creative. All right. I also sent out a YouTube link on how stick puppets could be done, as well as I gave them pictures. Let's see the YouTube link that I sent them. Okay. As I mentioned before, I sent them that YouTube link. That YouTube link wasn't mine. It was something I found on YouTube. I sent it out to them, to guide my parents. And again, based on that, my students will also be guided. All right. After they have completed the stick puppet, I had to constantly remind them not to throw the stick puppets away, because my parents And I'm sure my students, they may have thrown it away because I told them, keep it, we're going to use it the next week and so on. Again, this was the first step and I pre-planned it. All right. For the second step, after 2 weeks, they had a 2-week break in between. After 2 weeks, when they came back on the 8th of June, I told them, all right, again, I sent out a text with an audio recording to do a tree map based on the 4 stick puppets that they had done the previous week. All right. So I told them to come up with a tree map of like occupation, what they do, and where they work at. Now, for the weak students, I gave them guidance. For the ones who are a bit better off, I asked them to do the tree map by themselves. As you can see here, I wrote PDF and image. Why? Simply because some of my parents couldn't open the PDF of the PDF document that I sent them through WhatsApp. So I had to screenshot and send them the image as well to guide them, to help them help their children. Again, this was on the 2nd week. On the 3rd week, based on the tree map that they had done, I asked them to complete these blanks about the 4 occupations. This again was meant for the weaker students. For the better ones, you can actually ask them to either write themselves, or for the moderate students, what you can do is, towards the end, you just leave out no blanks. It's GDC, gradually diminishing control. Again, this was done the following week. And again, I sent out a text and an audio. I always do that. I always send out a text and an audio. The audio is meant for the parents. All right. After that, this was on the 3rd week. And on the 4th week, what I did is, based on the text that they wrote the previous week, they were to record what they had done and send it to me. Record using their stick puppets. They hold their stick puppets in their hand, speak about the occupations, and send it to me. Okay. Now, again, this was done on the 4th week. All right, teachers. Here again, for the better off, this was meant for the weak students. For the good students, what you can actually do is, you can actually ask them to just freely talk, or they can just come up with the text by themselves. All right. Now let's see what happened. Now, this was the results I got. Okay. This is my year 3 student. As you can see here, he has done the stick puppets. If you had observed in the video YouTube video that I shared, it actually focused on drawing the occupations. But my student, he has actually took pictures from media. So when I gave out the instruction, I told them in the recording, I said you can be creative as possible. As you can see here, he has actually used pictures from old magazines and old books. And again, my students do not come from very well-to-do backgrounds. So what did he use? He couldn't afford to buy ice cream sticks. So he actually used sticks made out of cardboard boxes. According to his mother, he did this himself, and it was his own creativity. I was actually very amazed. All right. And this is actually language arts, teachers. All right. Again, this is the first week's product. As you can see here, this tree map belongs to the 2nd week, and this text belongs to the 3rd week. Unfortunately, I do not have a video to show you of him presenting because my phone was giving me some problem and I had to delete the video. All right. Now, this was the first week, 2nd week, and 3rd week, and then the final was the 4th week, whereby they gave me the video. All right. This happened over a period of 1.5 months. So project-based learning is not something you can do immediately. It takes time, especially if your students come from the lower ability background, but it's workable. All right. Now, as mentioned previously, right, teachers, I teach all classes. Sorry, I used to teach all classes. So what I did was, the year I planned it out. For this particular 1.5 months, I'm going to do PBL across all the classes using WhatsApp. So for year 1, for year 3, I did stick puppets. For year 1, I asked them to do a scrapbook of colors. For year 2, I asked them to do a 3D model of a house. For year 4, I asked them to draw a poster about their country, Malaysia. For year 5 and year 6, I asked them to talk about the future. Draw a poster and talk about the future. All of these 4 topics, right, I did it the same way. The first week, they come with the product. 2nd week, the map, an I-think map. The 3rd week, the text. And the final week was the video. So I did this across all the classes using the same format. And it worked, all right? This was the first thing that I did for home-based learning. I used PBL. Okay. Another thing that I did was I used live worksheets. Now, live worksheets, we actually did Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Selangor actually did a workshop on live worksheets, and you can actually check it out on Cik Zahira's YouTube channel. Right? Live worksheets is actually very interesting, and when I did this with my students, I actually got a lot of positive feedback from them. All right? Okay, now let's see. Now, how do you do live worksheets? It's very simple. First, you have to create the worksheet. Then you have to send out the link The students just have to answer on the link. In the case of my school, again, because my parents are not so well versed with the internet, I had to teach them how to use live worksheets. And how I did that, very simple. I had to do a screen recording of how they're going to answer the questions using their phone. My students most of them do not have laptops or computers at home, so they only have their phones. They only rely on their phones, so I had to guide them using the phone. I had to screen record my phone, the screen on my phone, and teach them how to use it. Okay, first I'll show you the worksheet, and then I'll show you how I record it. All right? Okay, as you can see, this was a task that I gave to year 4. Live worksheet is actually very interesting because it can be used to test skills that we often neglect in the English language classroom. For an example, the listening skill. Here, the students have to listen to the audio, and then based on what they have listened, they have to select the correct answer. For an example, now,
curly black hair.
So they have to select the answer. And once they have completed, if you go further down, you just have to click on finish. And they'll ask you for your name. You have to key in your name and send it. Okay. Once they send it, it will appear in my mailbox, and I can check how far and what they have done. As you can see here, it gives you a score. Live worksheet actually self-corrects, and it is very good, especially for us teachers, because we can use it for our school-based assessment. We can keep this as an evidence. All right? And for the student, they can actually see where they have made mistakes, because it will indicate here where the student has made a mistake. So live worksheets also is very workable. And again, teachers, like I mentioned before, I had to actually screen record my screen to teach my parents to use it so that they can help their children. How I did that? Very simple. I recorded my screen, and then I sent the recording through WhatsApp. All right, I'll show you the recording, all right?
Good morning, kids. How do you feel today? Hope that all of you are feeling great and superb. As you know, today is Tuesday, and as usual, on Tuesdays you will receive your English. So you do not have to copy it in your book. Don't copy in the book, do it on the phone and send it to me. Bookல copy பண்ண தேவையில்லை, phone செஞ்சுட்டு எனக்கு அனுப்பிட்டுருங்க. Okay? Now, first, you click on WhatsApp and go to your class group. When you go to your file, you will see there is a link. Okay? The one in blue, click on the link. Click on the words in blue. Okay? The worksheet will open. Later, once the worksheet opens, you will see a video. Alright, okay, there's a picture here, that means the worksheet is open. Okay, as you can see, first they require your name and your class, your year. Click on the name box and key in your name. Sanjay, if Sanjay is doing it, type Sanjay's name. If Shalini is doing it, type Shalini's name. If Yogashini is doing it, type in Yogashini's name.
Okay, teachers, as you can see, in my in the video that I shared to my parents, I had to be very specific. That particular video was meant for year 5. For year 6, I had to actually record a different video. For year 2, a different video. For year 3, a different video. For year 1, a different video, because the worksheets were different. I basically had to record 6 different videos and share it with my parents, simply because if I do not do that, they will come up to me or they will WhatsApp me and tell me, teacher, why is my worksheet different? Why is the video you sent different? So I had to do 6 different recordings of my phone screen and send it out to my parents in their WhatsApp group. And I had to be specific. And if you had noticed, right, I actually used dual language again, because sometimes my parents would not understand the English language so well. So I had to be specific because I wanted them to help my children out, my students out, right? Okay, and again, I had to do 6 different recordings because the 6 different worksheets, right? Okay, now this is an example of a worksheet that was completed by my student, all right? Okay, as you can see, there's a score here, and as you go down, you will notice that if the box is highlighted in green, that means my student has answered it correctly, and if the box was highlighted in red, he had made a mistake, all right? So this was another technique that I used, and it proved to be effective. All right. Now, after that, besides using PBL and live worksheets, another thing that I used was I wanted to test my students' speaking skills. When I watched, when you watch videos and all that, when you watch videos and you go to Facebook, you see other teachers sharing videos of their students. I simply thought to myself, my students also can do it. Why don't I try it out? And I did. And again, I received a lot of positive feedback. Okay, the title I used was What I Do During MCO. And I did this in the beginning of the first phase of the MCO. All right. But I had to do it differently. I had to guide my students. Again, how I did it very simple. The first thing I did is I had to come up with a text. After that, this was again meant for the weaker students. If you can see, it's color coded. Why color coded? Simply because the blanks are also color coded. When the blanks are in light blue, they have to use the words that are in light blue to fill in the light blue blank, and the purple ones fill in the purple blanks. Right? As you can see, if you notice here, the first blank is in green. I had to tell them the green one is meant for your name. How I did that? Again, through WhatsApp, I sent out an audio recording. Besides the text that I normally send, I sent out an audio recording to guide my students. This was actually meant for the weaker ones. For the better ones, you can actually ask them to write by themselves. That's what I asked them to do. All right. Now again, first step, I gave them a text with instructions. The second step, I had to give them an example of a video, which I did. Again, I had to record 6 different videos because I was teaching 6 different classes. Again, the teachers here, if you can see, I've actually uploaded my video on YouTube. I did this yesterday because I had to present to you all. But before this, I'll just send out the recording because there was a question. Some of my parents did not even know how to use the YouTube link that I sent them. So I had to actually record and just send the video just like that. All right. Now let's see the recording.
Good morning. Hello everyone. What I do during MCO. I'm Miss Viloshena. I'm 12 years old. I'm a proud Malaysian. At SGKT Pulau Keri Timur in year 6 final. I like to read books during this MCO. I also help my mother with house chores like.
Okay, if you notice, teachers, I actually used gestures. I used props. Why? Because I wanted to give my students an example, and you can see how it actually worked. All right. Now, these are 2 of my students. This is a year 5 girl, and this is a year 6 girl. My year 5 student. Let's watch this video. How did my example actually benefit? How is it beneficial? All right.
What I do during MCO. Hello everyone, I am Nethia. I am 11 years old. I live in Malaysia. I study at SKKT Pulau Keri Timur in year 5 science.
Can you see, teachers? She also used gestures. How did she learn? She learned simply by observing what I did. And this boy actually comes from a bit more of a better off family, and he actually used props. Excuse the audio recording. The audio sound is actually quite bad. If you can notice, right? He used props. If you can see here, teachers, my student actually used props. Again, how did he get an idea of that? Through the example that I sent. Using that example that I sent, I was not trying to limit their creativity. I was just giving them an example, and it worked in a positive way. Again, teachers, you should bear in mind, this comes from a school with limited internet access to no internet access at all. All right? These were the few strategies that I used. First, PBL. Second, live worksheets. Third, videos. And when there was no internet access, what my school teachers and I did was we had to grab the notes and worksheets. All right. The first thing we did was we left the notes and worksheets in our school guardhouse and sent out audio recordings to our parents, asking them to come and collect it. When it didn't work, we had to hand deliver the notes and worksheets to the students' respective houses. We hand delivered. This was towards the end of the previous CMCO period. So this was done towards the end. We had to grab the notes and worksheets to their house. This was another thing we did when there was totally no internet access at all. Okay, these were the few of the strategies that we used. The few of the strategies that I used, whereby the first one was PBL, the second one was live worksheets, the third one was video recordings, and the fourth one was we grabbed and sent our notes and worksheets to the students' houses, or if not, we left it in their guard house. These were a few of the strategies that we used and I used in my school, and it was actually very much workable. We did this only through WhatsApp, nothing else but only WhatsApp, because we couldn't use Google Classroom as a platform because our students didn't have much of an internet access to use it. So we used WhatsApp and we hand delivered the notes. That's all. Thank you. I would like to actually thank my school teachers as well, because they always helped me and guided me to do this. Thank you, Ms. Zahira. Back to you, Fadilah.
All right. Thank you, Vilo.
Thank
Such
you, Fadilah.
activities you have shared with us. A
Thank
lot.
you.
Oh, okay, that's such effort. Okay, that was a great effort from your part.
Thank
All right.
you.
Okay, so audience, if at home, if you have any questions to ask, type in the chat box, and I'll address to our presenter here. Okay, if you have any questions. All right, Miss Viloshena.
Yes, Ms. Fadilah.
All right. Okay, I would like to know more. Right,
Yes.
one of the activities that you shared just now.
Yeah.
All right, you wanted to in a speaking you asked them to record a video, right?
Yes.
Okay, during MCO, right?
Yeah. Yes, my dear.
That's a question I would like to know. How do you actually correct the errors that they made?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Miss Fadilah. How do I correct? What I do is, normally if it's a written work, I will correct it. You are talking about the speaking activity, right? I will actually record myself speaking whatever they said, and I'll send it back to them so that it'll be clear to them where they made their mistake. You understand? I'll record myself speaking and I'll tell them, oh, this is the way you made a mistake here. That's one way. Or another way, I'll just give them a call.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great.
Okay,
all
thank
right.
you. Yes.
Okay. So, I would like just to say that thank you so much for sharing, Vilo, because
Thank
we
you.
now have ideas of what to do during this MCO. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would like to thank Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Selangor again for giving me this opportunity. I would like to thank my headmaster, my senior assistants, and my teachers also for for always guiding me and being there for me. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Now, we are going to move on to our second presenter. All right. Okay. I would like to invite Miss Hasliana binti Abu Hassan from SK Taman Setia. She will be sharing with us on how she has been teaching online using interactive apps. Okay, she will also be sharing with us some useful tips and tricks using these interactive apps. I'm sure we will benefit a lot from her. Okay, let's welcome Miss Hasliana.
Thank you, Miss Fadilah. Assalamualaikum. Hi, I'm Hasliana from SK Taman Setia. I would like to take this opportunity to thank JPN Selangor for making this happen. Thank you for my GB, Puan Sarifa, and all my colleagues for supporting me and guiding me as well. Hope you guys having a great day so far. So basically, today we're going to talk about the whole experience of experimenting with online teaching. We can all understand how overwhelming it is with the new norm, right? Transitioning from physical classroom to virtual classroom, learning about technology, million different apps out there, creating content, planning lesson, basically revamping our whole teaching system, and that definitely does not sound easy. So that's why we're talking about it all today, and I hope with my little sharing of the most basic simple set of practices can give us a little insight as beginners on how to actually do this online teaching. All right, so let's begin. Right, so when we use technology to teach, there are different types of learning that we need to understand before we put our heads into the whole online teaching experience. So, synchronous learning is when teachers and students have a real time interaction on a virtual place like Google Meet or Zoom at a set time. And then we have asynchronous learning, which, on the other hand, does not require a real time interaction, but instead, learning content and materials are available online for students to come and visit and access when they can. And then we also have a blended type of learning, which I think is the absolute solution to all the problems that we face with online teaching. Like if there's technical problem, or like now we're in the third phase of CMCO where parents are working, so there's no one at home to help students with the work, with the computer setup and everything. We have asynchronous learning. We put everything online on Google Classroom so they can access when they can. So I believe that there's no one solution to fix all the problem. Everything has to be considered, and then differentiation strategies has to be implemented so that no student is missing out on education. Because let's say if I were to choose one type of learning, just Google Meet, that would be unfair for the kids who don't have the access. And if I were to choose only using offline modules, and that would be unfair for the kids who actually have the chance, have the time to interact with me to practice the language. So that's why I say blended type of learning is important, and differentiation strategies, right? And then before I continue, I need to tell you my current teaching situation. It's now the total number of students that I teach. I have 20% of my kids are active on Google Meet online interaction face to face, and then 40% are active on Google Classroom, like quizzes, all the assignments that I give them, right, on Google Classroom. And another 40%, unfortunately, are all the students that I have trouble reaching out to, and they don't have the access. They have limited internet access. So that's another 40%. So how did I start, right? How did I start? So after I learned everything I need to know about technology, about Google Meet, everything I need to know after I learned, what I did was create a survey. So create a survey to find out the numbers of active participants, to find out how many of them have strong internet at home, how many of them have parents with them to help them through the lesson, how many of them use laptop, how many of them use phone. This is very important for, let's say, like if you see here on my screen, um, I want to show you this. All right, so gadgets that they use for Google Classroom, right? So 50%, 55% of them use headphones. So this is very important when you plan your lesson, because if you create materials, you need to take into account the view that they have. So if they use phones, the view is smaller than if they use a laptop. So planning over here is very important to choose your materials. And then so all the data, all the responses that we get, we can use this data, and then we basically design and create how we're going to teach them online. So after we have all the data, and then we want to bring it online, we want to do Google Meet now, right? So we have classroom routine, right? Classroom routine that we have back at school, like attendance taking, chit chat session, what else, classroom rules, anything, right? So use the same classroom routine but implement it online, like for example, mic on, mic off, camera on, camera off. So you visualize these rules, print them out, print the rules out, make up into flashcards, and then which you can point and show it to them on screen, and then they would have to behave accordingly, right? So I think that is very important, that we implement classroom routine online to make them feel comfortable, just like they're learning at home, even though they're actually learning, learning at school, even though they're actually learning at home. So I think it's also important to tell them to behave like they're learning at school, even though they're at home. Tell them that, hey, you're learning. Your attitude for learning has to be like sitting down, no eating, no talking, no chatting behind my back, stuff like that. Because I've had students chewing with the mic on, and students lying down with the phones on their hands, and that is not a good attitude, learning attitude. So I had to call them out, and it's important to tell them that they're learning, so behave like they're learning. And then how do I deliver content? So have you heard of flipped classroom? Flipped classroom is a type of learning where students are introduced with a content or a topic before at home, and then later when they come to school, they practice the language with their teachers and their friends. So with the same concept, we make it online. Same concept. For example, I pre-record my teaching video using Google Meet. You can also record using Google Meet. Pre-record my teaching video explaining a content or explaining a topic, and then I send it to them, have them watch at home, and then later when I decide to have a Google Meet class with them here, we would practice the language because the content, the input have already been introduced beforehand, prior, right? So this is just the example of what I would do with my kids. This is the video of me explaining a content. I would send it out to them, have them watch, and then down here is just a video of me explaining how to finish a crossword. Yes, and then also to select content, I personally focus on language structure that I want them to learn from SOW. Choose a language structure based on the SOW that I want them to learn, and I create my lesson around that focus, regardless of the skills. It can be speaking skills, it can be reading skills, whichever you think is important. And then, even though they're all important, I'm sorry. And then, helpful interactive apps.
Tortoise or snail?
Oh,
Which
sorry.
is faster?
Okay, so choose, it's important, interactive apps, right? Choose and manipulate teaching apps that we're comfortable with and utilize them during our lesson. So I have been using WooClap a lot lately. In my mid lesson, it's user friendly. There are so many features that we can use, like MCQ, poll, open-ended, brainstorming, and many more. We can have students to participate, type in their answers, and at the same time read others' answers as well on screen. So this is a little clip to show you how WooClap works.
Tortoise or snail? Tortoise is faster, are you sure? Yeah. Because tortoise is slow. But are you sure? I think this is slower. Really? I think snail. Where's snail? Where do you have the big snail? Wait, what's the name for snail? It's faster. What's up? When I was snail moving really slow. Tortoise is faster than snail. Are you sure? Yeah. Shall we go?
So that is that is an intense discussion over which one is faster, tortoise or snail. My kids love WooClap because they can interact with everybody. Basically, they can see what their friends type in, what their friends' answers are, so they can see it on screen, and that they love it so much. And then I also have been using Google Slides. Google Slides have been my go-to app. It's very convenient, nothing so fancy about it. I basically use Google Slides like how I would use whiteboard at school. You know how you would write down on the whiteboard and then have students to answer, and then you write down their answer. That is how I use Google Slides.
Mike, he has or he has? Good job. He has football.
Pandai. Next one. What do Sam and Mike have to do? What do Sam and Mike have to do?
They
Good.
have to
They
they
have
have
to
to watch
watch
go TV.
watch
Watch go
TV.
TV.
Good. They have to watch TV. Pandai. They have to watch TV. Next one. All right. So also another tip: if you already plan your lesson, a very great plan that you already laid out. If you want to use Google Meet, what I would do is try it out with your colleagues or your friends to figure out if there's another technical problems that you can avoid or you can handle. So next time when you have a class with the kids, and then if this certain technical problem that you've already faced when you try it out with your friends, you know what to do. And then what about students who don't get to join? Like if the parents are working, so no one else at home to help them set up the computer or whatever, right? So what about them? What we need to do is we choose a home base for us to um, put all the materials online, like Google Classroom. So all the learning content and materials that we have, such as video, worksheets, presentation, assignments, everything, we need to create a home base for students to always visit and access them. So Google Classroom is the most convenient since it is already sponsored just for us, and we have to stick with the app so pupils don't get confused. And then for the materials that we put, we need to choose the materials. We cannot just dump all the materials there without thinking and without planning, right? So we need to choose the app that can help create materials and worksheet that are interactive, engaging, and self-directed, like quizzes, word wall, slides, and Canva. Canva is very great. Slides is very great. Quizzes is very great because it's like a gamification type of learning. And then imagine, I say self-directed learning materials is very important because the materials are what they have. There's no direct support, there's no engagement, um, no interaction with teachers. So the materials are all they have for learning. So that's why we need to create materials that are interactive where they can learn just by themselves. And then instructions. So instructions also very important to guide them through assignments. So as you can see here, this is how I would write down my instructions. It's numbered, simple and precise. So, and then another tip, if you have multiple medias that you use for materials, right? So you have YouTube, and then you have quizzes, and then you have Google Forms or presentation. So all these media, let's say number one, you want them to open YouTube. So the first media that you upload, that you put, has to be YouTube as well. So it's like minor things like this. So like number one, YouTube, the first media they would have to click and go to is YouTube. That is actually a direction for them as well. And then no app learning. So no app learning, like if you want them to use the language but without all the technology, without all the apps, we can always do a project-based lesson. It can be textbook based or non-textbook based. For example, that I have here, we have recycling project and reading project. You can also do daily vlog project where they just talk about their day and have a video sent to us. So
Hi everyone, I'm Tengku Isla from 4C. Today I'm going to present about my recycle project. I make an aquarium. I make this aquarium using a shoes box, color paper, white A4 paper, rainbow rock, rope and tape.
So that's recycling, and then we have reading project as well.
Hi, I am Anis. I'm from 4C. Today I would like to share a story about Prince Nabi's spring. So now let me begin. It's Thursday morning.
So basically with this project-based lesson, it's easier for you to assess their speaking, assess their reading. The video is right there for you to assess, right? It's very easy, and there's no app, no technology to use. So I think project-based lesson by no app learning is very, very convenient. And then for reading, you can just have a page, ask them to read a text from a textbook, a page, and then ask them to read, have them record themselves reading. They love this activity. How I assess learning and give feedback. So the most stressful part about all this is the assessment. Imagine how hard it is to collect homework when we're at school, and then now imagine right now in our situation. So I always try not to stress so much about assessing them, because I think observation is the easiest way to do it. So every interaction that I have with them, I assess them right there. So I don't do Google Meet online lesson every single day, but I think it's important to interact with them. I would interact with them on Telegram, and I would interact with them on Google Classroom every single day, just for them to practice the language that they learn with me. Just basic conversational, communicative, basic, what is it? Conversation, like routine conversation. What did you have today for for breakfast? What did you do today? What did you do in the morning? Because year 4, we learn about all these routine conversation, and then by interacting with them on Telegram, just chatting, I can assess them right there. And then I also rewatch my recorded lesson to assess their learning and also see aspects that I can improve on. And then how do I give feedback? So feedback can be written or in a video, written on in the video. Find a way to talk to them. I would send a voice note, or I would call them personally to talk to them if it's important, right? And then I would also make use of WhatsApp, Telegram, or other picture editing features to send feedback. As you can see on the screen, this is the system that I came up with. I would draw a yellow line for vocabulary, for the wrong word, and then I would line up a word with spelling error with this color. So, and then we direct them what to do with this color. When they see this color, what should you do to make corrections, right? And then how about students who can't join at all? Unfortunately, for the kids who can't join because of limited internet facilities, right? So we have to create offline modules. So prepare notes and modules for students to with limited access. And then on these modules, what I would do, some tip is put all the details. Like if you create a YouTube video with a link, put the details in on that module, so when they see it, they would know where to go to watch a YouTube video if they have the data. Just put all the notes, all the materials that you have to direct them outside of the modules. Because we also need to give them some input, because if we give them just the modules, it's not enough. So we need to have some supporting materials to help them finish the modules. And then how do I get students to participate? It's like selling products. So I think our interesting lesson and our materials are our products. So we sell them, like, do self-promote. So I make use of all social media apps like WhatsApp, Telegram to display all of our products. I would display, I would share clips of my lesson, especially the successful ones, on my WhatsApp status, because I know mostly parents know me there, just to promote and hopefully catch their interest to participate more in my next lesson. So it works, surely, slowly but surely. One by one, parents would contact me if they see the status, right? They would contact me and ask for advice. If they can't join a lesson, and we would talk solutions from there. So that's basically it. And then Google Meet issues. One of the issues that I think everybody face is that we can't see pupils' faces when we present our screen. So I have a solution. I don't know if this is the only solution, but I figured out a way how to fix it. This unfortunately does not work with Mac OS because I use Windows laptop. So Mac OS, I don't know how. But all right, let's say we want to see people's faces when we talk because we want to get their reaction, right? But by presenting screen, we cannot see their faces. So what we would do is I show you a little clip, have separate windows for both Meet and your presentation. I hope I'm doing a good job explaining this, but you have one window, Chrome window for Meet and then one for your slides. And then separate them by dragging them. Drag them out of the window. Let's like this. I hope you can see it. Let's see. Yes, just drag it out to make two separate windows for both. Okay, and then after that, now as you can see, we have there different windows for Meet and different windows for presentation. So, and then what do you have to do next is that choose present a window, or you can also choose a tab of your slide to present like audio and video as well. So choose a window, share it, so all your kids see this the screen, your presentation, while you on your side, what you have to do now is alternate tab key to flip windows. You know, on your keyboard you have alternate and tab, so click those key to flip your window. So now you see how I flip it. I flip the windows, so you can when you flip it, you can see your slides, and then you can also see people's faces. So all you have to do is just flip the windows. So that's basically it. Did I do a good job explaining that? All right, that's it. That's all from me. Thank you so much. Do I have any question?
We are.
Hi, Fadilah. Are you here? Yeah.
All right, you have shared a lot, and I'm reading through the comments here, and people are so interested in the WooClap app. Maybe
Uh-oh.
we can have an online workshop on that.
Thank you.
What do you
Okay,
think?
maybe.
It's really interesting, and I'm looking through the comments here, and the teachers are really interested in the WooClap app.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need another session just for WooClap because it's I don't think it's
Yes,
complicated, but we need another session.
Yes. All right. So it's just that I would like to know more about you one of the apps that you use. It's WooClap, right?
Yes.
And then you also use Google Meet with your students.
Mhm.
All right. So what are the most what are the challenges you most face when teaching online with Google Meet? What are the challenges that maybe you can share with the teachers and how you overcome it?
So like I said, the first one that I have the most, I think everybody faces, is that we cannot see people's faces when we present present a screen, right? So I explained like a what is it? Like a tip, like how to figure it out. And then another thing with Google Meet that this one, that pupils, they chat behind my back. So this is before I figured out how to flip the windows, right? I didn't know that they were chatting behind my back. It feels like when we're at school. When we're at school, they would like when you have your back on with for them, right? So you would write on the whiteboard, and then the students are talking behind your back. So when they're chatting behind my back, it feels like, oh my god, bad class control. So what I did is the classroom rules, I have to like tell them every time. So let's say Google Meet. So you have a class with them. So we would, every time when we have a session online, we need to tell them, okay, be ready 15 minutes before we start. So that 15 minutes, I would display the classroom rules. No chatting, no talking behind my back, mic on, only when I tell you to, mic off, stuff like that. Just like display it before we start the class, so they know how to behave, that they know how important this is. This is just like learning at school. It's nothing different. This is learning at school. So we have to implement and we have to adapt with the situation that we are in right now. We need to also, very important, to help train their discipline, because they are lacking discipline right now. They're at home, they think like, no school, so can play. So yeah, that's one of the tips.
True, I agree with that. All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing, Miss Hasliana.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sure all the teachers here now, we can apply, especially your in the beginning of your session, you shared about the online classroom rules that you shared with your kids before you actually start your lesson. So this is, I think it's good that we can apply in our online classroom now. All right, thank you for sharing. All right,
Thank you for
I'm
having me.
sure. Thank you. I'm sure now we know a few tips and tricks that we can definitely apply when we are conducting our online lesson. All right, thank you, Miss Hasliana.
You're welcome.
All right, now allow me to introduce you to the third speaker for today. All right, Miss Nethia Samondeswari from SK Jalan U3. Okay, the title of her presentation is Home-Based Learning via Language Arts. Let's hear from her. The floor is all yours, Miss Nethia.
Thank you, Miss Fadilah. Good morning to everyone. Welcome, one and all, to the second session of Teaching in the New Normal, which is home-based learning via language arts. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunities to share a few of my home-based learning projects that I've conducted with my year one during the MCO period. Okay, just give me a moment to share my screen. Okay, before I move on to the activities, let me tell you about the role of a year one teacher and the parents briefly. Okay, since I'm teaching year one, what I did is, okay, I explain about the types of assessment, okay, showing examples in the slides on the orientation day. Okay, and then I provide the list of materials needed for the projects. Okay, what are the things that you need, like color papers and Velcro, and you can actually show the examples so that actually they can buy and keep a stock. Okay, next you have to tell them the role of the parents, because they are year one. You really need their cooperation badly. Okay, and then you have to get their contact numbers to create a WhatsApp group or Telegram group where you can actually share videos, slides, and all the information. Okay, and I did share a link for Facebook where they can actually create an album where they can actually share all their kids' outcomes. Okay, and I did create a group to help the promising learners. Okay, next is the role of the year one parents. Okay, you really need their cooperation to prepare the materials and the worksheets because they're still young. Okay, and then they will record the videos and submit on, and then they have to submit on time. Okay, and then they have to guide the students at home, especially for the promising learners. Okay, they have to teach alphabets, numbers, okay, the basic thing. Okay, as a teacher, you have to build a good PR because you need their cooperation, especially when during the MCO period. Okay, you have to help the parents and you have to guide the parents. Okay, communicate. You have to communicate and try to get to know the parents. Okay, especially the issues. Okay, I'm gonna explain briefly about activities that I did, materials that I use, steps, and I'll share a video, and the reason why I use language art. Okay. Okay. First of all, why do I choose a language art, use materials. Okay, there's several reasons for me to choose and venture into a language art. Okay, I realized that my kids, especially the year one kids, can learn and understand concepts like shapes, size, counting, making comparisons better than any other mediums. Okay, as my children describe and share their artwork as well as their process, they develop language skills. It is also a fun way to learn a language which is aligned with the CFR. Okay, let me show. Uh, uh, these are actually the activities that I prepared for my year one. We only have 4 topics for year one. So this is a lunchtime. Basically, it's about food. Okay. Okay, the first day you have to prepare the material. What I plan is all my projects, they need materials. I want them to do activity that actually they can practice. Okay, you can actually see the examples later. Okay, the first day the pupils print, cut and paste. That means all the materials I prepare and I send it through their WhatsApp. Okay, and I do share it in the FB as well. Okay, so the parents have to print, cut and paste, or they can actually draw. Okay, day 2 is for reading and writing. You have to give them a guided text. Pupils read the guided text given by the teacher, practice first, then they'll rewrite a parallel writing. Okay, and then the advanced pupils actually they can actually write their own sentences. Day 3, they go for after the writing, they'll go for day 3. That is, they'll do a video. Okay, for example, for this is about lunch set. Pupils talk about their lunch set. Okay, people change the picture for dinner set, and then they can actually talk about their choices of dinner set using the same structure. I'll give you the sample actually. Then pupils record it and send to the FB group created by the teacher. Okay, day 4 is a presentation. Okay, pupils paste a few choices of food in the fridge. It's the same pictures, but they will paste it in the fridge. This is where you can actually teach the grammar. Okay. For example, have you got any burger in the fridge? They will say, yes, we have, and no, we haven't. So we actually need, this is actually a conversation. So you need parents to help you. Okay. Day 5, what I did is a food craft competition. This is something that I did in March, whereby the parents were at home. So you need the involvement of the parents as well. Okay, pupils create a food craft using the food they have at home, and then teacher gives sample of food crafts and guided text to the students. Pupils make their food craft and talk about the food they have chosen to do the food craft. Okay, pupils record it and take a picture and send it to the teacher. Okay, and then I chose a few winners and I gave them prizes for the students. Okay, then the next is role play. Role play is a conversation between a customer and a fruit seller. Okay, here I did a project with the father and a daughter, father and a son. Okay, teacher provide the text, same guided text, and pupils make a colorful basket. This is actually, I'm teaching Sunny as well. So they make a basket. The technique is mosaic. And then they'll use the basket to actually practice the language. The last one is the board game. This, since they are at home, so I prepare a board game for them to practice on their own. Okay, I'll show you all the examples now. Okay, these are the materials and pictures that I shared in the WhatsApp group. Okay, this is the first slide. Materials that I use, this is the thing that I need. This is the lunch set. They have a picture of a plate. Okay. This is the pictures. You always give them choices. Okay, let them choose and build their own sentence. Okay, they can actually practice multiple times and memorize the structure as well. Okay, first I teach them vocab using the board games. This is the board game. Okay, you can actually simplify. You can actually, they can actually play just mentioning the names. For example, maybe this is a donut. Oh, I have a donut. I've got a donut. Okay, these are the structure that I use. Okay. Cover the dice with stickers. Paste only number 1 and 2 so that the students will be able to construct more sentence. If there's 4 and 5 or 5 or 6, okay, they won't make many sentences. So try to cover up like this. 1 and 2. Okay, for phrases, okay, this is a lunch set. They will write and then read then they will speak. Okay. This is the lunch set. Okay, this is the text that I gave. Okay, today for lunch, I'm having a bowl of rice. Okay, these are the phrases. For example, like a bowl of rice, a slice of watermelon, fried fish, some mixed vegetable, a fried chicken. Okay, they will choose and then they will do the video. Okay, these are my kids. This is the outcome. Okay. Next is grammar, where you teach in the fridge. Okay, able to ask and answer questions, simple WH question. Okay, if you see, this is a picture of a fridge. And then this is the text. For high flyers, they can actually use a bottle of, a crate of, and for the average and promising learners, a simple sentence would be better. Okay. What they'll do is, okay, the student will paste the pictures using the Velcro. They will choose and they will paste about 5 to 6 pictures. Then the father will ask the question. Have you got any cheese in the fridge? And the daughter will answer, yes, we have. No, we haven't. And then they change the pictures and then they'll repeat. Okay, pupils are confident and able to build their own sentence. You can see the video and you can actually see the improvement as well. This is for the sentence structure. Okay, this is not food. Okay, this is for things in the classroom. Okay, what I did is I gave them a pictures and I asked them to prepare a mini cups. Okay, write on the mini cup, put away your dash, please. And then second mini cup is take out your dash, please. Third is pass me the dash, please. So what they will do, they will place the mini cups on the picture and then they will build a sentence. This is actually for drilling. Okay. Okay, the last one is role play. Able to use the language in daily life. Okay, actually they can use these structures when they go, they can use it in the daily life, where they can actually use it when they go and buy anything from the groceries or, okay. These are the things that I prepared and I gave it to the parents. I gave them a picture and, okay, number one, pictures and then guided text. And I need the father's support. Okay. Now, let's watch the video.
My name is Sista. I'm from One Creative. Let's play now.
Good morning, madam. Can I help you?
Good morning, madam. Yes, I want to buy a grapes, a strawberry, a pineapple, and a lemon.
The grapes is 2 ringgit. The pineapple and lemon is 5 ringgit each. And the strawberry is 3 ringgit.
I want a pear and apple too.
Okay. Here you are.
How much does it cost?
$20. 20 ringgit.
Here you are.
Thank you, madam. Come again.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, you have seen the video, right? Okay. For the assessment, okay, normally what I do is assess through the worksheets, the videos presentation. Okay, it's easier, a lot easier because all the videos and the worksheets is there in the FB link. So you can actually take your time to assess the students. Okay, next. This is the link that I create in FB group. Okay, the parents will create an album and they will actually send all the videos, pictures, and they did a scrapbook as well to paste all these materials and the text in the scrapbook so that they can actually use it in future. Okay. Plan, prepare, and teach exciting, challenging, and engaging lessons, teachers. Okay, this brings an end to my presentation. Once again, thank you all. Thank you, Puan Hanisa, Cik Zahira, Puan Norlina, for giving me the liberty and space to share my experience. May this sharing reach out to many teachers and be a great use in helping our children to master language in a fun way. Back to you, Dila.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Nethia. All right. That's a lot that we can benefit from what she has shared. She has shared a lot of how teachers can actually use language arts in this MCO. So yeah, and one of the comments I read earlier that not only the child can actually practice their language, but also the parents can also practice the language with their kids. That's really good. All right, congratulations to you, Miss Nethia. All right, but I would like to know more. Okay, how do you actually get the parents to cooperate with you? Okay, Miss Nethia. All right, I would like to know more. Okay, that's a question for you. Okay, how do you actually get the parents to cooperate with you?
Come again, Dila.
Okay, how do you actually get the parents to cooperate with you?
Oh, it's easy. As I said, remember the first time on the orientation day? Or I already explained to the parents I need their cooperation and they have to guide the kids. So I keep a very good PR with them through WhatsApp and I always guide them. So I think just because of that, I have a very good response from the parents. For the weaker ones, actually, I printed out and I put it in the guard. I give it to the guard, so they'll come and take it from there. Sometimes I guide the weaker ones. Okay, and but it depends lah.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Miss Nethia. All right.
Okay.
All right. Now we are going. Let me introduce to you the last presenter for today. Let us welcome Miss Tabitha Sunder from SJKC Yukchun with the title of her presentation, My Home-Based Learning Kit. All right, let's hear it from her. Miss Tabitha, the floor is all yours.
A very good morning to everyone present today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share what I do during our lessons. I'm Tabitha from SJKC Yokchun. I come under the district of Petaling Utama. I've chosen this topic, my home-based learning kit, because I feel these are the things that I do during my lesson. Okay. Now, there are 5 things that I have personally decided to share with all of you today because I think it's very useful for me and my kids also seem to enjoy this. So I look at Google Slides, Pear Deck, Google Meet, Jamboard, Quizzes. Before I go into this, I think I should tell you that my children or my school is actually located in Petaling Jaya, but I have a very balanced mix of children who are exposed to technology and children who have no access to technology. So today I'm going to be talking to you on how I use this to reach out to my kids. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is Google Slides. So at every time I post up work or if I decide to have a Google Meet with my kids, actually in our school, we're encouraged to have a Google Meet session once a week. So sometimes it is very discouraging because we have 9 out of 35 kids coming on, but to me, that is, it is a form of motivation, a form of drive to give my best, because I think at the end of the day, even that 9 who take home something, it means something to me. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit on how I did this acrostic poem with my children. So I first uploaded my slides on acrostic poem. So I like to let my children know what they are about to learn, because I think we do this in class. We tell our kids at the beginning of every lesson. So this is sort of like a normal thing for children to expect. So I let them know, okay, this is what you're going to do today. So identify an acrostic poem and write an acrostic poem. Now, just so everybody knows, this is divided into 2 or 3 lessons, okay? So this is the first time that I'm going to tell them what's going to happen. And then I will share with them a YouTube video. I am still in the midst of learning how to make videos using Powtoons and other tools, but I have not really developed the skill. So what I do is I still incorporate YouTube videos that I find very suitable, that other teachers have done, thanks to other teachers who have been creative enough to create. So I use their videos. And why I use Google Slides is because when I share it with children, they can straight away play. I won't have problems of them not having the video or them not having the access to it, okay? So once it's incorporated into a Google Slide, it's easier for children to just click on it and play. And the other thing that I've learned is every time before a lesson, my children ask me, or they'll be expecting some form of video. It doesn't even have to be a video about my lesson. It just probably could be a song. It could be anything that they like to watch. So sometimes I just play videos for them to see together, all right? And then I use Google Images. This is still the introduction of acrostic poems. So I show them Google Images, work that other people have done, and I tell them, okay, this is what we're going to do on our next lesson. So in our next lesson, I would actually explain to them what's an acrostic poem, how an acrostic poem is written, how you write it vertically, write the word vertically down, and then you write a word, a phrase, or a sentence, and then I give it to them as homework. So I ask them to either pass it up, or if, like you see, I've asked them to either hand it in to me via WhatsApp or Google Classroom. So if it's via WhatsApp, they take a picture of their work and then they WhatsApp it to me. Or if it's Google Classroom, now this class is that I taught this lesson, they're very good. So they all chose to use Google Docs. So they will type into Google Docs and send me the link. So I correct it on Google Docs. So this is an example that I gave them. Betty eats the sandwich, yummy. And then this is one of my children, or one of my kids in school who's done this. Her name is Liu Jiexi, okay? You can see Liewjixi. So she's written this poem by herself, and then I do the corrections like this via WhatsApp. So I circle that little error because of the spelling mistake, so I circled the error, and then I type out the correct one for her. So this is how I respond to my pupils. And this is another child who responded via Google Docs. So yeah, super big hat in yellow color was not worn by Julie, even though that was hers. However, it was worn by a pet of hers named Kitty. This is something that I believe in. I encourage my children to write. I encourage my children to speak. I encourage my children to make mistakes, because I think it's through mistakes each and every one of us learns. So if we do not make mistakes, I think we'd always feel very superior. So through every mistake made, not just by the children, but by myself itself, I think I have learned many things. You develop yourself. So I encourage my children to just try. All right, now on another note, a different lesson, I've also used Google Slides, and this is done live via a Google Meet session. So how to pair deck. I'm talking about pair deck. I like to use pair deck because I get instant responses from children. I can also incorporate the 21st century learning, where I get to talk about, I get to include the parking lot. So this lesson was about our dying earth. So I only put this image up, and I got children to turn on their microphones and talk. Now, I know it's very difficult to encourage children to participate, but I always try and drive them, and I'll call them out by their names. And, you know, very reluctantly, they'll turn on their microphones and speak. But I think that extra push, that extra drive that you create helps pupils to try. So we talked about this. I had shown this song a week ago I uploaded it in Google Classroom. I told them to just listen to the song, to listen to what the context or what the message of that song was all about. So this is what they did. Now this is in PADAC, okay? So my next slide would have been, what is the message in the song? How do I get the response? So sometimes you don't get them to turn on their microphones, you get them to do this. So this is how they responded. I learned that we need to protect it. Again, if you look at this, these are the children's responses. There are mistakes in this, but then again, because you want to build that confidence and you want them to know that it's okay to try and it's all right to make mistakes, I let them write. And I also have one student who deleted his response. Now, as much as I want to get upset, I decided not to get upset. I said, okay, everybody, if you've deleted a response, go ahead and try it again. Think about what message you want to, what was the message you think that song was trying to tell us? What do you think you have learned? What do you think you have heard in that song? Or maybe that one or two words that really struck your heart, you can write it out. So yeah, so this is what I do during a Google Meet. And then I got my students to present. Now they did a presentation in groups. So this is like a project-based learning, all right? They don't always like to take a video of themselves and post it to me. So what I did is, all right, I told everyone, let's get into our groups. So they had their groups already in class when we had our physical school. So I just told them, everyone, in your groups, I'm going to give you this topic about global warming. How can we help to reduce global warming in today's time? So I'm giving you a week, go do your research, prepare it. Now, I'm saying this for this class, I'm talking in particular, they have access to internet. They come from a better socioeconomic background. So they are able to do this, all right? So they create their own slides and they prepare a script among themselves, and they take over my Google Meet session and have a presentation, all right? So each group takes turns to present. Now, I like to do work like this because of two things. One, I encourage teamwork, and two, communication. Because in today's time with the MCO, the CMCO, the RMCO, and whatnot COs, we are lacking communication with real life people. You only see your family. So there is very minimal communication. And when I say this, the kids in my school, they're either speaking Mandarin, they're speaking Bahasa, or in Tamil, or in their native languages. So English becomes almost non-existent for them. So I use this as a project for them to learn to talk to each other. Even though when they're preparing their slides via Google Meet, it's not done in English. They are writing their script in English. They are trying to do the corrections on a Google Docs together. So this is my form of encouraging some communication between the children. Okay, so these are the slides that were presented by my kids. I just took pictures of them to show you what they had done, all right? These are, again, Year 6 pupils who are able and who have access to the internet. So this is what they do. And you know, they spoke with confidence. They spoke, even though they were reading their scripts, it didn't matter to me because I felt, wow, it's been a long time since you guys had a chance to do this in class. So here's your platform to do this. And it was nice to hear my children or the kids in my school trying to use English as a medium or a discussion language, okay? And then what did I do? Now, this is where my parking lot comes in. I have two ways of doing this. So what is the one thing that each group talked about? Because there was a common theme, there was a common discussion about this, I could ask, what is the one thing that each group talked about? Because there's a common ground, yeah? So this is the reply that I got. Global warming is getting worse and worse, so we must protect the earth in order to live a healthy, happy life. So save our earth. The most important thing is to lessen and protect our earth because global warming is getting weird. So these are the answers that I get. And this is my form of parking lot. So you can incorporate your 21st century learning in your class. Now, and at the end of everyone's presentation, where every group has presented, after listening to everyone's presentation, how do you feel about what we can do to reduce global warming? So there are 4 emojis here, which you can choose. So how do they choose? They get to circle whichever emoji. And again, you see deleted response because these two, I happened to see their responses. They had circled the red one, the really sad face. And then when they saw nobody else circling that, they quickly deleted their response. But then again, because you want them to just try, you just accept. I accept whatever they give me. All right, so this is my form of parking lot. Now, during a Google Meet session, sometimes it gets very dry. As an adult, I'm speaking for myself, it gets very difficult to just sit behind a screen and watch. It gets a little tedious, it gets a little boring, it gets a little dull. So what I do is I try to incorporate my spelling. So sometimes I give them words that are already in their textbooks, or I don't even give them words. I give them a surprise spelling test. Okay, I call it Spell It Right. How do we do this via Google Meet? This I learned from Mr. Eugene Moraes during one of our courses organized by our PPD. So I get them to all open their chat boxes. So if I have 20 people, I'd expect 20 answers. So I'll tell them, okay, the word for today is spell. You've got to type out the word spell and don't press enter, don't show it to me, okay? You have to just wait for me to say enter. And when I say enter, everyone clicks at the same time. So these are the responses that I get. So you see, I told them the word ghost. And some of them got ghost, some of them got ghost. So I go through one by one. I would share my screen because I'd want them to know where is the mistake. And I will not highlight, okay, Hezrick, you heard ghost. No, I will not highlight the student who heard wrong, because then again, because of technology, it's not every time you have got excellent lines. So sometimes students may hear the wrong thing, but I tell them this is the actual word ghost, all right? Because most times I tell them the word ghost, it will be in a sentence. So it also teaches you how to, like contextual clues. It gives them an idea as to what the word is going to be. All right, so this is another one, process, okay? Now, the second thing that I do during a Google Meet session, I like to do this. It's called scavenger hunt. All they have to do is turn on their videos wherever they are in the house. It doesn't matter. It gives you a good breather, because sometimes you just spoken and it gets too tiring. You take a step back and you get to breathe. You give them a list of things. So it can be 3 things, it can be 5 things, it can be 10 things, but you give them exactly what you're looking for. So when it comes to, like, say, today's lesson, if I want to do this right at the beginning of the lesson and I want to use the traffic lights in my class, I'd get them to go around and look for something that's green, something that's amber, something that's red, anything. And throughout the lesson, they have to keep their videos turned on so that I can see when they are confused. So they actually show the correct color. All right, do you understand what I just explained? They can show me the green, the red, the amber. So this encourages them to move around, to actually even explore some things in the house. There was one time I got them to look for something that's made out of metal, made out of plastic, and made out of rubber. I had one student, teacher, apa tu metal, cikgu? I had to explain what's metal and show him an example of what's metal. So again, you get to increase their vocabulary, and at the same time, you get them moving around, because sometimes a Google Meet session can get very dry. The other thing that I use is called Jamboard, okay? Now, Jamboard is excellent for brainstorming ideas. So what I did is I taught them grammar. I taught them on collective nouns. Now, on Jamboard, there's one problem you might face where you have children attacking each other, sort of like pulling each other's sticky notes, okay? It's not easy to do that, to control, but what I do is I tell them, guys, today's lesson, you've got to write out collective nouns. I have put categories for them. All you have to do is choose which sticky note you'd like, which color you would like to use. Type out your collective noun, put it in the correct column. If your friend has put it in the wrong column, don't worry about it. We will discuss and move it to the correct column later. Now, if they start moving each other's sticky notes, I sort of like stop my Jamboard session. I unshare and I share my screen and I let everybody look at what's happening. So nobody has access to it. All right. So it gives me some form of control having the Jamboard, because I can choose to share with everyone or unshare when everything gets out of control. And then I encourage my children here, if you see, to write out their names. Why? Because sometimes I just need to know who wrote it, like for observation, if you're doing your PBD or you want to just take out scores for them, you want to know who did what. So I encourage them to write, but at times during this time, everybody gets very excited, to be the first on the screen, so they forget to write their names. So some of it you have names, some of it you would not have names. And what I do is I would ask them, okay, a Pride of Lions, who typed that out? Who wrote that? And very reluctantly again, they would tell me, okay, it was me, teacher, it was Shinjin, it was Kayan. So I like that. I like to do that because I think I want them to I just want to hear their voices, because at this very moment, you don't get to hear them, you don't get to see them, you don't get to be a part of them physically. So using what you have to the best of your abilities is important. So this is another grammar part that I did. So I had finished teaching adjectives and I got them to just list out adjectives. So they all took sticky notes. They all used sticky notes. By the way, the sticky note is you see a pen, you'll see an eraser, an arrow, number 4. So if you open Jamboard is an additional feature that we have on our Google from Delima. So you can use the Jamboard and get them. You prepare your Jamboard and you share the link with them. What can happen is if you're using an iPad or a tablet or your phones, then the child would have to actually download the app for Jamboard. It's not an additional link that they just click on. So if they're on their laptops, then it's easy, or if they're on a computer, it's okay. But if they're using, an iPad and a tablet and mobile phones, then you cannot do it unless they have installed. So if you really want the child to install it, then you have to pre-warn them. But saying that, I have children who cannot install. Teacher, no storage space. I am in class, Google Meet already using so much of data, blah, blah, blah. What I tell them is, it's okay. You go back to our Google Meet session, open the chat box, you type out your word there, I will transfer it into a sticky note for you. So then you encourage everyone, you get everybody participating, those with and those without the Jamboard. Okay, and the final thing that I'm talking about today or sharing about today is quizzes. Now, quizzes is amazing because you get to prepare your questions ahead of time. You get to use this live. You get to use this as homework. You get to monitor their work. You get to see who's done, who's not done. You get to test grammar skills, reading skills, and writing skills. Now, it's important for us to, sometimes I think to myself, is it important to do all the skills? Then I remind myself, yes, it is, because every skill is sort of interlinked. If you look at reading skills, you can teach grammar together. So if you can teach using one skill, a few other skills, you have killed you have killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So it makes your life a little easier. Now, pupils absolutely love quizzes, because at least my pupils love quizzes, because when I do a live quizzes, they are playing it live. They are competing with each other. They are looking at the leaderboard on score on my screen. They keep checking it. So it creates this competition. They want to try. They want to be the best. They want to do all that they can. So it's a very healthy, competitive environment. And you put your timer for each question. So if you are controlling, it's a different story. But if you're getting them to play on their own, so you've got 10 questions and they're all clicking, you're really encouraging them to read, to try, and to answer correctly, because they want to be on the top of the leaderboard. So I feel using quizzes during a lesson or giving it to them as homework is a very good platform that we can delve into, as opposed to Google Forms. Google Forms is also good, but Google Form becomes very dry because you don't have this memes coming up, you don't have that timer, you don't have all that. So the children feel a little dry. I mean, kids being kids, I teach years 3 to year 6. So having something fun sort of like encourages their learning. Now we've coming to the end of my presentation. There's light at the end of the tunnel. What I mean by this is, I know this MCO, I know this whole pandemic has caused almost an emotional breakdown or an emotional stress on teachers and on people reaching out to kids. But there are 2 things that I'd like to share with you. Now, the most valuable resource that all of us have is each other. Every time, check with your colleagues. I have a good group of colleagues who I check with, who I go back to, who I discuss with. So always try and get their ideas, try and collaborate with them so that you expand your thoughts, you expand your boundaries. And the other quote that I believe in is courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Now, this is how I do my reflection after every lesson. Sometimes your lessons are amazing. You've prepared so much, but during the lesson, all things don't come together. What do? I reflect about it. I see, okay, what actually went wrong? How am I going to improve it? Maybe I should change this. Maybe I should change that. And it's okay to make mistakes. I think this is one thing that everybody has to believe in. It's all right. There's no one who's going to judge us and say, hey, you did this wrong. Hey, you shouldn't have done that. Because in today's time, I think everyone is trying their best and working hard to give the best to our children. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Question for you. And she's asking, do you get all attending the Google Meet class?
Okay, I'll be very honest with you. When I have a Google Meet session for my year 6 class, I have about 32 out of 33 coming in for class. But when it's a year 3 or year 4 class, I have very few pupils joining. But like I said, I don't get discouraged. I, in fact, use that as my platform to say, all right, it's okay for children to try and do this.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Miss Tabitha. And if I may, there's a question that I would like to ask, and I would like to know more. Like so what do you do if the pupils are not able to join your Pear Deck or quizzes due to their poor internet connection?
Okay, what I do is I teach 5 classes.
Mm-hmm.
So we reach out to our school class, the class teachers themselves. They help us to go out to the parents because it's nearly impossible for me to reach out to 160, 180 children at one time. So the class teachers help us to reach out to them and encourage. So even last week, the class teachers encouraged their class to pupils to join. This week I had a 5% increase, which to me is yay, I did it. So that's my motivation. That 5% increase, very good.
All right. Oh, okay. And then there's another question here, by Miss Sujata as well. She's asking, how do you find time to do all this?
It's a very good question. Once my kids are asleep, my own kids, when they are asleep, I sit and prepare all this. So it's a lot of nighttime work, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's all for the benefit for our children, right?
Children, yes. And I think at the end of the day, learning all these things, when they had all these courses during the first stage of our MCO, they had a lot of courses on how to learn all these apps. I was very interested to learn. So that sort of developed the interest to learn and reach out to my own pupils in school.
Oh, that's good, Ms. Tabitha.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Bravo to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right. Now, we have now come to an end of our webinar session. All right. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to express my gratitude to all the amazing and inspiring teachers, presenters who have shared with us their useful and beneficial sharing, and also to the viewers who are with us today. All right. So the attendance link is already posted. Okay. So is it there, the attendance link? Okay, so I would like just to say good job, everyone. Good job to the presenters. And we hope through this webinar, all of us, okay, are able to take away a lot of useful information, input, and ideas for the benefit of our students. All right, thank you, everyone, for joining us. And please join us in the next session, which will be held tomorrow and next week. Okay, and for those who missed yesterday's webinar or today's webinar, so you don't have to worry. You can find these webinars on the GPS YouTube channel, okay, in our GPS YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe share and link and like the channel. All right, till then, this is Fadilah signing off. Enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe and goodbye.